Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs on this Tuesday morning. It is nice to be home in the friendly confines of Charlotte, North Carolina, here on Golf Channel, but you can also listen. It is Channel 92 on PGA Tour Radio on Sirius XM. This program brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you. If you have business insurance needs, they are there to meet them. Not to mention what they do in the game of golf with the USGA and the First Tee. They are fully invested. Golf Pride, when it comes to gripping the golf club, if you want the best materials, more options than anybody can offer, it is Golf Pride through the bag, including that reverse taper putter grip series. And of course, Peter Millar, everything you need. It's that time of the year, a little touch of fall in the air. If you want this Waynesville performance flannel shirt that I'm wearing, or this Carson sweater chore jacket, I don't do a lot of chores. I'm not good in that department, but I like the jacket. You can get it all at petermillar.com. We got a lot to get to in this hour. Steak for breakfast. We all need protein. Nobody provides it more than these two guys who are going to be joining me, one in studio, one in a couple of minutes via satellite. That, of course, Brendon de Jonge, Johnson Wagner. Their program on Monday nights is Wagyu Filet on PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92. My friend, you were not up there at Bethpage, but you took it all in. Johnson was there on the ground. Like I said, he's going to be joining us in a minute. We got a lot to get to. I know that you guys chewed a lot off the bone last night on your radio program. And there's so much, and you want to try to budget the time as effectively as you can. Let me ask you this just to begin with, because I read a lot yesterday, and I want to read and listen and hear as many viewpoints as I can. From your standpoint, the three biggest takeaways that you had, whatever they may be, from the week, what were they?
I've got to start with the course setup.
Yeah.
I thought it was an absolute travesty. Gary, they stripped the identity of Bethpage Black, the way they set that golf course up. Not only that, you as the American team have the ability to make this your home field, make this the biggest home course advantage you can. By making that golf course as easy as they did, they completely threw that away. You look at the list of the guys that qualified. Russell Henley, where did Russell Henley win? He won at Bay Hill, probably the hardest golf course that we play outside of the
most
majors.
Legit rough on tour.
Exactly that. Muirfield Village, where Scottie Scheffler won. Ben Griffin finished second there. You've got the U.S. Open champion on your roster, J.J. Spawn. Harris English played well in the majors, couple runner-up finishes. These are guys that are made to play difficult golf courses. Now you go ahead where you've got what is typically a very, very difficult golf course, and you turn it into essentially a pitch and putt with zero rough, soft greens. Absolutely dropped the ball there.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I know when Johnson joins us, he, like I, was on the grounds, and when I got out there Tuesday morning, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that they had literally shaved the ethos off the golf course by removing any rough. And I'm not saying it should be 6 inches and that it should just be a slog, but splitting the difference to what was 2 1/4 maybe to 3 1/4, to where there is a requirement of examining lies and figuring out the reaction of the golf ball. These guys were spinning balls out of what was basically a first cut. And a first cut, a lot of times, is actually a more advantageous lie, depending on where the pin is, than hitting it from the fairway. Not necessarily for you guys. It was a shame.
Yeah.
And then the softness of the golf course was kind of confounding to me because, yes, it rained Wednesday into Thursday, but that was it. That was it. And it didn't rain 8 inches.
Yeah.
The greens remained soft all 3 days. Keegan Bradley even spoke to it. And the last thing, ball in hand on a Friday morning, I kind of get it.
Sure.
It's foursomes. It had rained the day before. Yes, it was soft. It was kind of muddy. Sunday singles? 3 days in a row you played ball in hand.
After the sun's been out, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that to me made absolutely no sense that golf course was still that soft.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the setup was universally panned. Keegan fell on the sword. He said he started with that in terms of regrets, things that he would have altered. Give me a couple other items that stand out in the grand sense.
That the little fine details that the Europeans do throughout the week, they add up in the big picture. They really add up in the big picture, and it completely brings together this team, this culture, and the Americans are so far behind when it comes to that.
The Luke Donald, for those folks who maybe not have watched his press conference afterwards, he spoke about a couple of things that they did once they showed up at the hotel.
Yeah.
They found the shampoo to be unacceptable, below par, and people are out there, listening to this, going, "What prima donnas?" Listen, I get it, but and Shane Ryan wrote this in a great piece for Golf Digest about, hey, if the bass player likes only green M&Ms in the bowl when they're on the road, then you only have green M&Ms in the bowl.
Right. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he's going to strike the chords a little bit better because his mind's in the right place. They changed the shampoo in the hotel. They changed the sheets in the hotel because I guess the thread count wasn't good enough. And then apparently there was enough of a crack in the doors of the rooms of the hotel that was letting some light in. So I don't know what they did. I don't know if they put masking tape or duct tape or whatever to take whatever ambient light that was seeping through the doors.
And a lot of it sounds ridiculous, but as I said there, when you add it all up at the end, it carries a lot of weight.
It does, and for all the folks in the camp of they just make more putts, that's the end result of all the things that are done leading to them being in a headspace to do the things that they do. Like I said, it is not accidental that things that are done in when the expectation is the highest. There's a great line that we don't rise to the occasion. We fall to the level of our preparation. That's what we do. You don't unexpectedly perform at the elite level if you're unprepared. And preparation is in those details. Last thing before I kind of follow up on something else that you just said.
In order to win an away Ryder Cup, we've talked about how difficult it is. You need your stars to shine, and the European stars did.
They did.
They really did. Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, 4 of your big names really stood up there and I mean, carried these guys over the line.
They did. And the week that Rory had that once we get Johnson aboard here, because he heard it, I heard it.
Yeah.
And he didn't need that to say to other elite athletes around the world, I know what it's like for you to be in your arena. But he does now because the vulgarities that were hurled at him and his wife and his other family members were so reprehensible. It is beyond embarrassing for those people. Regarding the detail part, it's interesting. To me, when you look at Luke Donald, the things that he does, the greatest strengths, I think for the most part are things we never see. Yeah. And yet with the American captain, and in this particular case it's Keegan Bradley, his weaknesses or decision making that you question are things that we do see. Do you think that's fair and accurate?
I think that's very, very fair. It's the stuff behind the scenes that Luke Donald does, and that's fitting with a Luke Donald as well. He's an understated guy, very quiet guy.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that when he speaks, he's worth listening to, and he's doing all these little things behind the scenes and just making it that much better of an experience for these guys. And he talks about that he wants the Ryder Cup to be a week that these guys will never forget, the best week that they could have as far as an experience, and just those little things certainly weigh into that.
Yeah, and look, when you do win, which either side, things that you chose to do that then if you hadn't won could have been questioned, kind of get masked over. They're washed away, they're cleansed, because there are some things that Europe chose to do that could have, in hindsight, had they failed on Sunday, you would have said, you didn't need to do this and this. When we get Johnson aboard, which we're going to do in just a couple of minutes, we'll get into that. So much to discuss. Great to have everybody with us here on this Tuesday. Brendon de Jonge in the studio. Johnson Wagner going to join us via satellite here. I like saying that term, even though it really doesn't apply anymore. It's old school. He will be with us, and we will dive very deep into what transpired and organizationally for the United States, what needs to change. Brendon just said they are so far behind. In what specific areas? We'll talk about that as well. The Ryder Cup fallout and review continues here on a Tuesday. Great to have you with us here on Golf Channel. Of course, you can listen. It's Channel 92 on PGA Tour Radio, their show Monday nights at 8 o'clock. Wagyu Filet. We add the Wagyu when we continue. Filet right there. Back on 5 Clubs right after this. Welcome back in. It is a Tuesday edition of 5 Clubs. Yes, Wagyu Filet on this Tuesday. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. It is that time of the year. If you're not layering up, you ain't trying. Go to petermillar.com. Everything you need for the fall season is right there for you, including this little chore jacket that I am wearing today, the Carson chore jacket, plus this performance flannel shirt as well. All of it at petermillar.com. Brendon de Jonge in studio, and joining us now, based on what I just looked at out of the corner of my left eye, is the erstwhile wayward son of Johnson Wagner. I think he's a graduate student somewhere up in the Northeast, maybe at Babson College. I have no idea. Who in the world are we looking at right now? Look at that guy!
Hello, I'm Johnson Wagner ? No, I decided that I wanted to shave my mustache off so that we can change the US Ryder Cup setup, and we can do a better job going forward, and we can start having captains like Luke Donald. Not that Keegan was bad. I'm not saying Keegan was bad, but Luke Donald was great. And my mustache being shaved is in protest to have great U.S. captains going forward.
Did the PGA of America shave that when they shaved the rough?
That's good, Gary. I like that.
And they took it all the way off. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the rough was Gary. It was crazy out there with the rough. I had so many people coming up to me that had played at Bethpage, that play there every week, every month, whatever it is, that they were so upset of how easy the course setup was. That you could go to Bethpage on any random Wednesday in any September that doesn't have a Ryder Cup and play a harder golf course than the golf course they had. And I think it made a lot of the locals upset.
You know, Brendon, it wasn't just that the golf course was easy. Don't you agree that stylistically these two teams couldn't be more similar now than they've ever been? So the idea of that setup being advantageous to the United States side, I don't believe that applies as much anymore.
100% with you there, Gary. And with all the analytics and statistics and everything that we have right now, like why did they not understand that? That's the problem that I have with this. Like, why did they not understand that was the case?
Johnson, the other thing we were just discussing is, look, Friday morning it rained Wednesday into Thursday, golf course was soft. The ball in hand thing, I didn't take umbrage with it. Friday morning foursomes, okay, but by Sunday in singles, we're still ball in hand?
I'm convinced, and this may be unpopular, but I'm convinced that the European team had some hoses and they were watering the golf course all week. I don't know why they would decide to do that, but it's the only explanation I can say. Keegan apparently didn't know what was going on. The greens were so soft. They were bricks. The greens were bricks on Wednesday. The balls were bouncing. And then we get half-inch of rain, and all of a sudden they're plugging still on Saturday, and we're playing ball in hand. Somebody was out there watering that golf course, and I'm convinced it was the European team.
So the winners usually get cleansed as far as why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? What, if anything, did Luke Donald and his staff do that you would have questioned or do question?
The only thing that I could really question is that they had too many guys playing 5 matches.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, all those guys that went 5, they lost their singles matches.
Yeah, only one guy who went 5 won, and it was the guy who was winless going into Sunday.
Yeah, so Rory, Fleetwood, and Jon Rahm all went 5 sessions, and all 3 of those guys lost on Sunday. And Rory spoke to it. He's like, man, I had absolutely nothing on Sunday. If you could avoid getting to that point to where these guys are absolutely gassed come Sunday, because Gary, it's a long week and it's a tough walk around that golf course. So yeah, obviously it's fine. You're going to nitpick some stuff, but that would be the only thing that I would say that maybe the European staff got wrong.
Yeah, Johnson, as we look at this, it really, the three of us could live 100 lifetimes, and we're never going to wake up on a Monday or talk about it on a Tuesday and go, yeah, the winning Ryder Cup team won one singles match on Sunday and they won the Ryder Cup. You're shaking your head. It's extraordinary. What about you? What about what Luke Donald chose to do over the course of the week? Would you say you either got away with it, or I didn't like it, or whatever?
I don't think there's anything I would say. I mean, Brendon made a great point. I'm struggling to find a fault, but yeah, maybe he played his best guys too much, but whatever it takes to get 14 and a half. And they got there, it's crazy the day that we had Sunday. There was a chance that the American Ryder Cup team had the smallest chance to win. The fact that even happened is remarkable. Luke Donald was flawless as a captain, from his speech, from the way they handled the week before, everything, from the shirts in practice rounds being the colors as an homage to previous away winning Ryder Cup teams. I mean, Luke Donald was flawless. Yeah,
for people who are going, what is he talking about? There's actually an image. And they have added now the 2025 Sunday jersey to this photo, to the teams that have won on the road in now 5 straight decades, almost like a hall of jerseys. And the fact that those guys wore those colors, and they're going, yeah, why are you wearing that shirt that looks like Medina 2012? On purpose, for that reason. I know last night when you guys were talking about Rory's week on your show, and Johnson, you said, look, it really upset you to hear the things that were being hurled at him, not like every once in a blue moon, every hole, every tee box, every green approach. It was repugnant what he was subjected to. So with that being said, how do you evaluate a guy performing like that, being subjected to what he was subjected to?
I mean, Rory, look, I love Rory. I love Rory. I've had my issues with some of the things he's said in the past, but I love that man. And Rory went from a 9.6 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 in my book. I don't care what he does. He has a blank. He can do whatever he wants the rest of his life, say whatever he wants, and I won't criticize him because of the way he handled that. I know he yelled. Yes, there's people going to say he turned around and yelled and cussed to a crowd. It was a week. It was a week of nonstop. It was nonstop, Gary. I mean, I still hear the things in my head as I fall asleep. It was nonstop, and for him to go as long as he did before blowing up, I think it was amazing. And for him to honestly, I think it inspired him to play better golf. And I'm just incredibly impressed. I can't wait to shake his hand at some point and just tell him how great I think he is. And it's nobody deserves to be talked to the way he was talked to. If I was talking to somebody that way, I'd be fired from my job. And it's like, I live by the rule, Gary, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done to you. And that certainly a lot of the fans at Bethpage did not live by that rule.
And I don't know why, Gary, like why we've got to this point as sports fans now that it's moved away from where it always used to be you used to root for your team. Now it's more of you root against the other team. And
Rory made that point after.
It is, and it's terrible to see. And it's not just this New York crowd. It's happening all over the world. I know you're a big tennis guy.
Yeah.
French Open tennis, the final there, the young American girl, Anna Samova, she was in tears by the end of that match. And it's the same thing. You sure pull for your team. You don't have to pull against the other team. Yeah,
again, I thought this was very predictable, considering the things that I heard all 4 days of the PGA in 19. I said the PGA of America's got a problem on their hands in 5 years, and I think that things are worse in ways now, and specifically in sports. The Rory week, to what Johnson was saying in terms of what he heard, and then he responded to all of it. And if you look at his week in total, and yes, he lost to Scottie Scheffler, a match that got to the 18th hole, played all 5 sessions, was the target of more verbal abuse than anybody. What Colin Montgomery heard was benign in 1999. Seriously, compared to what Rory heard, and his family heard as well. What he and Shane Lowry did late on a Saturday, what him and Tommy Fleetwood have become. And Johnson, here's the thing about not only his performance, but what Europe has now with Rahm and Hatton and Rory and Fleetwood in that format. Those are firewalls. So if you're the United States, and my expectation, I'm sure you have the same one, those guys are going to be trotted out there in a dare manner. Good luck trying to penetrate those two teams.
I don't want to just be totally glowing up the European team, and we got Cantlay and Scheffler. Okay,
yeah.
We got some dogs. We got Scottie Scheffler. We just need to find out how to manage it. And I think the one thing that I want to kind of come from this is statistically, like, who do we pair Scottie Scheffler with? Who's going to be Scottie Scheffler's guy? Is it Henley? We thought so, maybe not. Is it Sam Burns? We thought so, maybe not. Who is going to be Scottie Scheffler's Rahm and Hatton? That's what I want to find out, and that's what I think. Gary, I don't know if we have time for this, but I've got a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last year that we won an away Ryder Cup?
Yeah, I sure do. I was a club professional in 1993. I was working at Seminole Golf Club.
Do you remember what year the President's Cup started?
1994.
Do you know what the U.S. Ryder Cup record is since 1995, which would be the next Ryder Cup played after the first President's Cup?
Yeah, I can count it up. Obviously, only home wins. So 99. Let's see, 99, 2008, 16, and 21. So they won 5 and they lost all the rest.
4 and 11. 4 and 11. It's been gross for the last 30 years, and I'm just, it's like I'm making it my mission. That's why I shaved my mustache. I'm making it my mission. It's all I can do. It's all I can do. I'm making it my mission to figure out the U.S. Ryder Cup team. I'm certainly not smart enough to be the guy to do that, but I'm going to find the right guy. Who is the guy that's going to figure out how to make the U.S. Ryder Cup team better? That's my mission.
Well, it's, look, I think that you feel the way a lot of people feel, like, where's the secret sauce? One thing that in listening to the European team guys afterwards, and it wasn't the first time I've heard it, and you go back to Rome, and I can go on and on and on and on. There's something soulful that they get out of this experience, and we're getting to things that are hard to kind of quantify because they're kind of spiritual. Mm-hmm. There's intangible aspects to it. You got to want to be penetrated by things that are intensely personal. When Shane Lowry says, this is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and this guy won an Open Championship in Ireland.
Home. Right, at home.
You got to want to be touched in a way that is intensely soulful. Does this current group of American players, you can say, oh, it's about making putts. That's the end result. There's a lot before that gets to the end result.
You don't get there instantly. It's this culture that gets formed over years and passing along of this culture, which the Europeans do so well. And you have to do it with this continuity that they have. They bring back, look at their vice captains that they had there. You've got a winning captain in Jose Maria Olazabal.
Who's like their Yoda.
Exactly, yeah.
He never says, he doesn't do any media. He's got that gruff, unkept beard. Like, he's the coolest dude out there, man. Right. It's awesome. Like, it's like, that's Ollie over there.
Yeah. They got Thomas
Bjorn.
I mean, you look at this continuity. These guys keep coming back. And Johnson talked about this a lot on our radio show last night. Who is you look back at recent times, who's the one U.S. Ryder Cup captain that really stands out amongst the rest?
Azinger.
Where's he? Why is he not part of this fold at the moment?
He did some corporate events. I was with him for one.
Yeah.
No, you're right. And I know that he was, he's plugged into whatever degree it is that he's plugged in with Keegan. He's texting with him. But you're right. There was something, Johnson, that was a real pivot in terms of giving him not only some autonomy over the setup of the golf course at Valhalla at a time where I think that there was a stylistic difference between the two sides. He did a psychological evaluation of his team more than a quantitative data-driven examination of his team to pod them out and say, you got him, you got these four, you got these four, and he did it in a holistic way. And immediately it kind of was driven in another direction. Almost as soon as the miracle in Medina happened, it was something kind of panicked. Task force. There's Tom Watson.
It's unbelievable, and I want to say that Paul Azinger was probably, and this is complimentary, he was probably the most European captain the U.S. has had in the last 30 years because of the psychological profiles. Because of the psychological profiles, because of the next level thinking, because of doing it in a different way. That's what Europe does every single time, other than maybe a Nick Faldo. That's what Europe does every single time. They are so far ahead. Paul McGinley is a brilliant man.
Yep.
And I've gotten to work with him on Live From, and I've listened to a bunch of stories he's told about his captaincy. And they just go, they go and they meet the player and they find the player, and the captain does a psychological profile with every single one of them, and they just nail it with their pairings, with other stuff. Their date is better. Everything's better. It is time for the U.S. to step up and figure out how to hire somebody who will devote their life to it and be that guy that cares as much as their captains seem to care. And it's like we're more concerned with we got to do this. For me to do that job, I'm going to need $5 million. And they're like, oh, my God, I can spend my next 2 years of my life doing that job. It's like the love for it that they have and the arrogance and need for money that we have on the other side. It's telling now, and I think this is a Ryder Cup that is going to go down in history for hopefully change for the better for the U.S. side.
You accurately predicted the result of this down to the point total. 15-13 Europe was your call. You had a tie. You were right there for a little while. And then the envelope rule had to come into play there. We're going to talk about that. Also, all of us thought that Europe was better. Their players, there was a handful of their players that were a better product than they were 2 years ago. Did it translate into them being better in the team concept? It absolutely did. We discussed that as well in the American bright spots and the things that they can take forward, including rookies. Again, never going to be a problem in my mind. They had a winning record. We talk about all that. Johnson with us, Brendon in studio. Mustache is gone. People are passing out. They're disoriented. They don't know what is going on. Worlds are colliding. We're back on Five Clubs on a Tuesday right after this. Back in on this Tuesday here on Five Clubs Golf Channel. Of course, you can listen as well on PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. If you saw the grips of those 24 players at the Ryder Cup, overwhelmingly, and they're not a microcosm, they are reflective of everybody around the world who trusts Golf Pride more than any other grip company in the world. With the options, the materials, through the bag, it is Golf Pride. All right, Johnson Wagner joining us from up north. He's playing some golf, decompressing after a very long week, so much so that he decided, I'm just going to shave, like all of it. Again, that's really him. That is really him. That's not virtual reality. That's not AI from him. Senior year at Virginia Tech. That's really him right now. And of course, Brendon de Jonge in studio. All right, guys, let's talk about the American team. Brendon, bright spots. Who had a good week?
Cam Young.
Yeah.
Cam Young was awesome.
Boy, he was something.
I was so surprised to not see him in those first matches, and it's even more surprising now after the week that he had. But yeah, Cam Young for me was the big bright spot.
Yeah, he was second behind Tommy Fleetwood in terms of total strokes gained over the course of the competition, 5.06. Johnson, we talked about, as you look at the record of the American team, there's Cam Young 3-1-0, including making that putt on the 18th and that straight right fist pump. I mean, what a moment for a young man who grew up in the state of New York to have the kind of week that he had. I know you're not surprised by his performance. I bet you were surprised he was not in the lineup Friday morning, considering his ball striking statistics, weren't you?
A little bit, but
okay.
At the same time, I walked a bunch of holes with him. And Cam Young on Thursday was playing really bad. I watched him play 5 holes. He didn't hit a fairway or a green, so I wasn't surprised to see him sit. What was surprising was to see him come out, birdie his first hole, and skyrocket. It was amazing. It was awesome. Cam Young was, without a doubt, the MVP of that U.S. team. Tell you who else impressed me was Xander Schauffele, because I think he was one of those guys that we threw a question mark at. We threw a question mark on him as one of our great stars. I thought Xander Schauffele showed up in a big way and coming in not on form, missing the Tour Championship for the first time in his career. Hadn't played since the BMW, didn't go to Napa because I think they were having a baby. So for him to show up and do what he did, Xander Schauffele's gone to a whole new level in my book.
No, well said. Agreed, and I think when most people looked at the lineup card for Sunday, they went, he ain't beating Jon Rahm.
Yeah, I for one thought that. I was like, oh, you can pencil one in there for blue.
Yeah, and whether you can say, well, that's indicative of how fatigued the guys are, played 5 sessions, that only is to a point. You have to credit the other guy, and Xander, to Johnson's grander point, is the inactivity, the uncertainty. You know, a year that starts with the injury, for him to show out the way that he did was impressive. I thought J.J. Spaun, and this to me, along with Cam Young, I tried to say this as often as I could. I had no misgivings about the United States having 4 rookies. History has been on the side of good performances, home or on the road, and these 4 guys produced a winning record again. When you get winning records in total out of a quartet of rookies, and you can say, well, Cam Young won 3. Oh, okay, he was a rookie. Yep. 6-5-1 for the rookies. So overall, and even Ben Griffin on Sunday, when the lane kind of is opening, he got it done.
I thought Ben Griffin was a little unlucky to only play one before a singles match, just to get trot out there twice. I thought J.J. Spaun was exceptional. I thought he stood up there and hit some unbelievably good shots under some intense pressure there. You know, obviously into that 18th hole a couple times to win some matches there. Yeah, J.J. Spaun, I think he's going to be around for a long time. From
an organizational standpoint, Johnson, back to what you were saying about they've got to figure it out. Let's say Tiger captains the team. You know that everyone's going to bathe in that like that's the great elixir. Does he solve organizational problems that are about details and process and preparation and buy-in?
Yeah, Gary, I think Luke Donald has raised the level of the captaincy. He's set a new standard. So whether you're European or American, you're going to probably try to model yourself off of what Luke Donald does. And I think the main thing is having the time to devote yourself to this for 1.5 years or 2 years, whatever the time length is. And I think Tiger Woods checks all the boxes. Obviously, he's Tiger, but I think he has the time to devote. I think it would be good for him personally and professionally if he was the captain and devoted himself the way he used to devote himself to playing the game of golf. I think Tiger Woods would be an amazing captain. And I think it's exactly what the U.S. side needs, is to see Tiger Woods devote himself that way, to go to Ireland and to try to win an away Ryder Cup, which is the hardest thing to do in golf, as Rory said, and they accomplished it. I think it would be a big step for the U.S. team if Tiger would take it on and do the job the way it needs to be done.
And if Tiger is captain, I would love for him to bring some of these guys as vice captains, some of the vice captains that were in there, this last one.
Sure.
With a Webb Simpson, Brad Snedeker, Kevin Kisner, Gary Woodland, some of those guys that were amongst it here, just to get a little bit more of this continuity going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to talk about they've got a culture, you just don't snap your fingers and you have culture. You have to have. One of the things that Graham McDowell said yesterday when we had him on the show is that there was always a message. There was always a message about what the mission was. That again, you gotta wanna be touched by these things when they start to impart this stuff on you. Like, I thought it was cool that they talked about and actually had all living 37 guys who'd been on a road Ryder Cup winning European team were part of that 6.5 minute sizzle reel. If that didn't get to you, nothing's going to get to you.
Right.
And I think that Johnson, one thing about Tiger is that I look, and people close to him will admit that there was an ambivalence that he had toward team golf. That was not his mantra. That was not his mindset. His mindset was a singular pursuit to do what he did, which was to achieve at levels we had not seen before. But he's turned the corner on team golf. He's immersed himself in it. He's constantly in communication with them. No, he wasn't present this time around. It doesn't matter at all. I think what you would get from him was detail and constant communication in this sense that you're never out of the bloodstream. Like, don't drift away. We're always on point. And that, I think, is vitally important. And I think that Europe set that tone when they flew over after the BMW PGA, landed Monday morning, were at Bethpage for a couple days, and then did an East End boondoggle, which is the essence of what anybody who wants to build fellowship does with their boys.
Yeah, I mean, they arguably won the Ryder Cup last week when they made that decision. Who wouldn't want to be on that team? And Gary, this has really been bothering me for a few days. So in the TV compound, there were Americans rooting for the European team. Have you ever met a European that roots for the American team?
No, I have not. You're asking good questions this morning.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to name them personally, but I am. I don't understand it, and that's culture, and that's what we have to change, is the fact that we have Americans rooting for the European team. That's a problem. That's a problem that needs to be addressed.
Let me raise a couple other things about the event at large, because some people were on this show in the run-up and said the event's perfect. Nothing's perfect. Everything is always under construction to make it, refine it, make it better. I'm not getting to the envelope rule as a way for people to portray this as sour grapes. It's the rule. The rule was executed the way the rule should have been. Should it be examined? What do you think, Brendon?
It certainly should.
Should be. Brendon, go ahead.
Yes, very much so.
It should.
I don't like it at all. I think that, Gary, we talked about this a little bit, I think go as far as naming 13 players. That 13th player understands that you're not going to step into any of the team matches.
You have no option to play other than in the event of an injury.
In the event of an injury, in the singles match only. That's the only time that you can play.
You also get another player involved and gets to experience the thing in totality as well, which is never a bad thing for anybody. Johnson, envelope rule, should it be shelved?
It should be shelved, and I think the captain should go out and replace a player. So I think it should have been Luke Donald going out there in that singles match against Harris English.
I don't like that. I don't like that your captains, you're putting the Ryder Cup on a guy that's hardly playing any golf.
It's okay. Even though he would have been hitting 3 irons into some of those greens, they would have backed up when they hit the greens. Look, I think that I understand what Keegan said when he was asked about it. And I thought that the last year that he has comported himself in an extraordinarily graceful way, I would have just said, it's the rule. If we wanted to examine it, we could have in the months leading into it. Luke said exactly what he should have said. It's the rule. The rule's there. It's been used by Europe once, been used by the United States once. It was a long, long time ago. That needs to be examined. The other things about what you would change, first of all, look, the DJ who was hired to play, music on the first tee and decided it might be a good idea to lead an expletive-laced chant. How does that happen? Seriously.
I don't know, and surely somebody's got to pay the consequences of the fact that did happen.
Yeah, that person lost a gig.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, DJ's on the first tee. Are we taking this thing to a place, celebrity, events on a Wednesday, hit and giggles? That doesn't bother me. But are we getting to a place now where things are being compromised or lost?
We hold the Ryder Cup. We talk about the Ryder Cup like it's a major championship, and it is arguably the greatest golf tournament every 2 years that you can have. For us to have the celebrity hit and giggle, for us to have the DJs, fan behavior, we're almost treating it like it's the WM Phoenix Open, which is a great event. But the Ryder Cup we hold so high, and I think that it needs to have a little bit of decency brought back in.
Yeah, the fans, again, 100 imbeciles can really override 35,000 people there with good intentions. And whether it was 100, 200, whatever, the point is, it doesn't take much. Let me ask you both about a tie. And again, it's not about whatever result you want. Are ties still something that most people would accept if the team that owns the cup retains it based on a tie? Or is elite professional sports to a place where let's resolve this, and if we have to figure out specifically how to do it, we will? Are ties still part of this?
No, I think it's archaic. There needs to be a resolution. I don't know what system you want to come up with. We could sit down and talk about that another time, but you need to come up with, there needs to be a clear-cut winner.
Johnson?
But those guys are going out there. I mean, I've already talked about it. Scottie talked about it. The 5 guys that played 5 matches. If you all of a sudden don't want ties and you make a guy go extra holes.
No. Tie in the overall. Tie at the end. To resolve the match.
Could probably throw out a Tyrrell Hatton, John Rahm alternate shot versus Scottie and somebody and go play a couple holes and then get this thing fixed. Go play 15 through 18 at Bethpage and whoever wins that match, that'd be a good tiebreaker.
It's again, this is elite sporting competition, but like all other elite sporting competitions, I say it a lot, it's also a television show, which is why the captains should be put in a position to have to answer to whatever captain put out as match number 1. That 30 minutes, you're adding even more delicious ingredients to the event. And I don't care if you're ripping it off from the President's Cup. Who cares? It's good.
Think about that Tiger Woods, Ernie Els at that President's Cup when they were playing off there. I mean, talk about must-see TV.
Come on. All right, most importantly, is the man who has shaved the stash. You got golf in the cards today. Where are you playing?
Yeah, I'm excited. I've got my 3 good buddies that are club pros up in the New York area: Danny Balin, Nick Maselli, and Corey Muller. We're playing at Blindbrook, which is Seth Rayner. I've never been there. I am fired up. Corey's my partner. Nick has been talking some trash. Danny's a beast. Danny's the best player in the group.
Yeah, how many is Danny giving you?
Yeah, to be determined. I did say this is a scratch game, and I think we've got the teams equal. But we're looking for a big win, me and Corey today.
All right, my friend. Thanks for the contribution, people. That's really him. He has shaved the stash. Enjoy your golf. We take our final break. Come back. Some final thoughts right here in studio from Brendon de Jonge right after this. Back in last couple of minutes here on this Tuesday edition of 5 Clubs. This segment brought to you by Century Insurance. They are right by you. Looking forward to finding out where the Century is going to be played because they're being displaced from Maui. But when it comes to investing in golf, it's not only their sponsorship of the first event of the calendar year on the PGA Tour with what they do at the USGA and the First Tee. They are doing it the right way in the game of golf. I'm curious, the Ryder Cup records of players, my personal feeling is that, and maybe it's because their records are better because they've won so so much more than the American teams that I feel like there's value to it. How do you evaluate a Ryder Cup record when you look at the overall resume of a player's career?
I think it carries a lot. I think it means a lot, but it's always talked of sort of as an after fact. Okay, he's won 4 majors and his Ryder Cup record was this. But I believe it carries a lot of weight. I think it's something that probably needs a little bit more recognition than it really gets.
Yeah, and again, people can say, tell me what Tiger's record is, and tell me what's Jack, and that's a fair point.
Sure.
But you're seeing players like Tommy Fleetwood. He won the Tour Championship. Look, over there, he's a legend already in terms of what he has done. And Rory, for all of his accomplishment, to me, there's great value with the way that he has invested himself in something that before he participated in it for the first time was really ambivalent about it. Called an exhibition. Before he hit a shot, when he heard Seve's voice and he saw guys crying, said, I was wrong. I was wrong.
I think it's great to see where Rory is now. Like,
yeah, it's cool.
As you say, where he was at the beginning, where it was an exhibition. It was just something extra for him to play, and to have taken it a complete 180 to now where he is, I mean, so vested in this thing. It's so cool to see.
You're headed north. You'll be doing Golf Central pre and post. You got the PGA Tour back in action this week. You also have a really special event on the DP World Tour. I don't know how many guys from the European Ryder Cup team are making it to the Dunhill Links, but it's great. That great course rotation. Always good seeing you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Of course, half of Wagner, the other one, doesn't have a mustache anymore. My gosh. We'll see you tomorrow on a Wednesday.